Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcomed to this live streaming. The series on Heart Sutra entitled Going Within, with the subtitle of the day, has come to an end. Soon I will begin another series on one of the important document, Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Vigyan means scientific. Bhairav means that which is beyond the body. Tantra means the technique. But before that, I will take a few sessions on Kundalini, the energy as it ascends through its channel in the body, Shaktipat, the downpour of the energy, and grace. So in this series, today is Kundalini a psychic phenomena? Is Kundalini a psychic phenomena? There are two things. One is reality, the other is materiality. The sky is very vast, spread, but you see only a part of it. When you come to a particular city, you arrive in the night, you could not see the star-studded sky, but you want to have a look at it. It is cold winter night. So you remove the curtain of the window in the room and look at it. This is framed image. It is materiality, and the entire sky is indeed the reality. Materiality is only one dimension of reality. What you know about the galaxy, what you know about the God is only one dimension of it. Psychic means another realm of reality. And this is non-material. Both psychic and material belong to different realms of reality. I am speaking on, is Kundalini a psychic phenomena? There has been quite a number of requests to speak on the topics Kundalini, the downpour of the energy which is Shaktipat, and grace, the difference between the three and how does these operate. So first is Kundalini a psychic phenomena? When you ask, is Kundalini a psychic phenomena? The fear is there. If something is psychic, it is bound to be unreal, to you all that is psychic is unreal. But remember, psychic has its own reality. Psychic means another realm of reality. This is non-material. We live in mind. In mind, reality and materiality are synonymous, but in reality they are not. Indeed, they are not. Reality is far much greater than the materiality. Materiality comes from the word matter, that which is visible. Materiality is only one dimension of reality. Even a dream has its own reality, but it is non-material. It is psychic. Anything which is psychic, do not take it as unreal. Indeed, it is just another dimension of reality which you cannot conceive. Even a thought, even an emotion has its own reality, but it is not material. Material means that which can be seen, which you see. Everything has its own reality. In fact, there are different realms of reality, and each one of these differ in grades and dimensions of reality. But in our mind, materiality has become the only reality that we know. So when it comes to psychic, when we say mental, the things are condemned as unreal. What I am saying, Kundalini is symbolic. Kundalini is symbolic. It is psychic. The reality is psychic. There are two things, reality and symbol. Reality is psychic, and the symbol is something that you have given it to. I give you a cup of tea. You drink it. Now, when you have to explain how it tasted or a fruit, you have to use symbols. The symbol is not inherent in the reality. The phenomena of Kundalini is psychic, but the symbol Kundalini is psychic. It arises within you. It is the flow of energy which, when begins to ascend, it comes to be known as Kundalini. And when it begins to descend, it is known as sex. The phenomena of rising of the energy within its channel is psychic. Something is rising in you. It is rising very forcefully. Something goes from below towards your mind. It is a forceful penetration. You feel it. But when it comes to express it, you need a symbol. You have to explain to me. I have to explain to you something is rising within you. You are feeling it. But something which is psychic, which is non-material. It is not like computer. Everyone has an idea in their mind what a computer looks like, what a smartphone looks like. So the moment you say it is a iPhone, everybody knows about it because images are available. But this is rising of the energy within the channel is a subjective experience. Your experience will be different than mine. Now, in order to explain this, you need symbol. Something goes from below towards your mind. It is a forceful penetration. You feel it. But when it comes to express it, a symbol is needed. Even if you begin to understand it, you use a symbol. And you do not use this symbol you do not use only the symbol to express the phenomena to the others. Although symbol is needed when you have to explain this to someone. So symbol is not the only thing that you need to explain it to the others. You yourself cannot understand the phenomena without the symbol. When we say rising, it is a symbol. When you say 4, it is a symbol. When we say up and down, these are symbols too. But in reality, nothing is up and nothing is down. The wall in front of you is one piece. There is nothing the upper or the lower. These are the symbols to explain certain things. When you ask someone to put the nail up in the wall or hang it up in the wall, it is a symbol. Up is being used as a symbol. These are symbols. In reality, nothing is up and nothing is down. Instead, there are existential feelings, but no symbols by which you can understand and express these feelings. So when you understand, a metaphor comes in. You say it is just like serpent. Then it becomes just like a serpent, and you have known serpent. It assumes the form of your symbol. It begins to look like your connection. You mold it in a particular pattern. Otherwise, you cannot understand it and you cannot explain it to the others. When something has begun to open and flower, you will have to conceive of what is happening in some other way, or in some way or the other. The moment thought comes in, it brings its own category. So you will say flowering because you have known flowering. Buddha and Mahavir belong to the palaces. In a palace, you cannot conceive of a snake. Buddha's father made a garden around him where flowers were blossoming. His experiences of the flower. So he never used the symbol of serpent. Serpent is a symbol in agrarian society, the agriculture. When something has begun to open and flower, you will have to conceive of what is happening in some way or the other. The moment thought comes in, it brings its own category. So you will say flowering, someone else may say opening the petals, still another person may say penetration. These are metaphors, symbols, and happening itself is a different phenomenon. Something is happening within you, and you have to use the metaphor or symbol to explain it. These metaphors and the happening itself is understood through so many metaphors. The metaphor depends on you. It depends on your mind. It depends on the type of environment that you live in. And reality depends on so many things. For example, your life experiences as well. If you are living in a society or in an environment where you have not thought of a snake, and you are surrounded by beautiful flowers, rose flowers, rose will become your metaphor to explain this. 200 or 300 years from now onwards, it is possible there will be no snakes on earth, because man has killed everything that has proved antagonistic to him. Then snakes will be just like a historical word in the books. It will not be a reality then. It is not even a reality to most of the people in the world even now. Then the force will be lost, but the beauty will not be lost. The symbol of a snake will be dead, and you will have to conceive of Kundalini in a new way. It may become an upsurge of electricity because it is more congenial, more appropriate to the mind to understand than a snake. The times have changed. We explain everything in terms of electricity now, the energy. It may become just like a jet going upward, a rocket going to the moon. The speed will be more appropriate to explain something. It will be like a jet. If you can feel it, and your whole mind will conceive of it just like a jet, it will become just like a jet as you think. The reality is something else, but the metaphor is given to explain what is happening is given by you. You choose the metaphor based on your experience, because the metaphor or the symbol that you use is meaningful to you. Yoga developed in an agricultural society, in an agrarian. It has used agricultural symbols. A flower, a snake, etc. But they are just symbols. Buddha did not even ask, did not talk about Kundalini. But if he had talked about it, he would not talk about it as serpent power. What he would have done, he would have used flowers as metaphor. Mahabir too. Both of them came from royal families. This symbol that was congenial to the other people were not congenial to Mahabir and Buddha. Buddha and Mahabir comes from the palaces. A snake was not a reality there. And it was dangerous too. One had to be aware of it, but to Buddha and Mahabir, it was not the reality at all. So Buddha did not ask about snakes. He talked about flowers. Flowers were known to him, more known to him than anybody else. He had seen so many of them, but only the living ones. The palace gardeners were instructed by the king to see that there is no dying flower. Seeing it, something can happen in Buddha. So the whole night the gardeners were prepared the garden for him. In the morning when he comes, not even a dead leaf, not even a dead flower could be seen. Only flowers coming to life. So flowering was a reality for Buddha. To him, in a way in which it is not to us. Then when he came to his realization, he spoke about it as a process of flowers and flowers, opening and opening. The reality is something else. But the metaphor of flowering comes from Buddha. These metaphors are not real. I am speaking on is Kundalini a psychic phenomenon? There are two things, reality and materiality. Something you experience within. Now you need symbols to explain to this. These symbols are known as metaphors. These metaphors are not unreal. They are just the poetry. They correspond with your nature, with your life experiences. You belong to them and they belong to you. The denial of the symbol is drastic and dangerous. You have denied and denied everything that is not materially real. The rituals, the symbols have taken their revenge. They come back again and again. Then they get through. They are there in your clothes, the way you dress, your temples, in your poetries, and in your deeds. The symbols will have their revenge. They will come back again. They cannot be denied because they belong to your nature. Human mind cannot think in relative or in abstract terms. It cannot at all. Reality cannot be conceived in terms of mathematics. We can only conceive it as symbols. The connection between the symbols, the connection with the symbol is basic to human character and nature. In fact, it is only the human mind that creates symbols. Animals do not create symbols. A symbol is a living picture. Whenever something happens within, you have to use the outward symbols to explain this. When you begin to feel something, the symbol comes automatically, and the moment symbol comes, the force is molded into that particular symbol. As happened, serpent is used as a symbol for Kundalini. So everything, you have an experience of serpent, you begin to see serpent coils, flower blossoms. And the moment the symbol comes in, the force is molded in that particular symbol. In this way, Kundalini becomes just like a snake. It becomes a serpent. You will feel it and see it. You will be even more alive than a living snake. You will feel the Kundalini as a snake because you cannot feel the abstraction. You cannot. This is the reason that man has created idols of God, because we cannot perceive an abstraction. God becomes meaningless as an abstract. He becomes just mathematical. We know that the word God is not God. But we have to use the word. The word water is not existential, that has the capacity to quench your thirst. Yet we use the symbol of the word water to explain something. We know that word God is not God, the word water is not water. But we have to use the word. Still we use the word water, we use the word God. We know that the word God is a symbol, it is a term, and not actually the reality or God. But you have to use it. It is the paradox of life. When you know that something is not a fact, but you also know that it is not a fiction, that using the word God is essential, then you transcend the symbol. If you know the idol is not God, it is simply a symbol, when you know that something is not a fact, but it is also not a fact. This idol is not a fact, but it is not a fiction. It is necessary, and the real one, it is a necessity. Then you must transcend this symbol one day. Then you must go beyond it, and you must know that which is beyond it as well. But the mind cannot conceive anything beyond the symbol. beyond the symbol of a snake as the symbol of Kundalini, the statue of gods and goddesses, and the mind is only the instrument that you have. Through it, every conception comes to you. So, you will feel this symbol, you will feel the idol as a symbol. Through it, every conception comes to you, and with the feeling it will become real in you. Your feeling when you look at the beautiful Radha Krishna idol, or the idol of Jesus, or the sculpture of Jesus, because Christians do not use the word idol, they use sculptures. And to another person, another symbol may become as real as your symbol has become to you. Then the controversy arises. To every person, his symbol is authentic, real, but we are obsessed with concrete reality. It must be real to us, otherwise it cannot be real. Hindus use the idols. Christians call it sculptures. We are interested in importing everything. We like the imported things, imported ideas. Muslims use the direction, symbols which comes from the Arabian countries. This is how it goes on. We can say the tape recorder is real because each one of us know it. It is real to all of us. A smartphone is known by all of us, and we know it. It has an objective reality. Tape recorder is an objective reality. A smartphone is an objective reality. But yoga is concerned with subjective reality. Kundalini is a subjective reality. Subjective reality is not as real as objective reality, but it is real in its own way. The obsession with the objective reality must disappear in order to understand the subjective reality. Subjective reality is as real as objective reality, but the moment you conceive of it, you give it a fragrance of your own, you give it a name of your own, you give it a metaphor of your own choice, and this way of perceiving is bound to be individual. Even if someone experiences the same thing, but the records will be different. Even two snakes will differ because the metaphor has to come. Metaphor of a snake has come from two different people. So these metaphors, that the feeling of Kundalini is like the movement of a serpent, is nothing but a symbol. But they correspond with something which is real, an upsurge of energy. The same movement is there, the subtle movement, just like a snake it is there, the force is there, the golden appearance is there, and all of this corresponds to the symbol of a snake. So if the symbol is congenial to you, it is all right. But it may not be congenial. So never say to anyone that it has happened to you and it is bound to happen to him as well. Never say that to anyone. It may be, it may not be. If your channels are clear, through which the energy need to upsurge, to ascend, then you will not feel the obstruction. If a train is passing, the mail train or superfast train, many stations will pass en route, but it will not know. Only in the map it will know that these are the stations that it has to pass through. As compared to that, a passenger train stops at every station along the route. Difference, this must be understood. There is no reason for any kind of dissent or dissension. Differences has come about because of the symbols. A Muhammad cannot conceive of the symbol of Buddha. It is impossible. The environment of the two were different. Even the word God can be a burden if it is not conceived of as a symbol that corresponds to your individuality. Now look at the circumstances that prevailed around Muhammad and the circumstances that prevailed around Buddha. Muhammad could not conceive of God as compassion, and Muslims follow. To them, God is not compassion. Compassion did not exist anywhere in his environment. Everything was so terrifying, so dangerous. So God has to be conceived of differently. He was crossing from one country to next, slaughtering the people. That was the environment around Muhammad. He cannot think of God as compassion, could not conceive of God that was not cruel. An uncruel God, a compassionate one, would have been unreal to them because the concept would not correspond to reality. The reality that existed around Muhammad, the symbol has to be to correspond that. To a Hindu, God has been through environment. Nature is beautiful, the soil is fertile, the race is deeply rooted in the earth, everything is flowing and flowing in a particular direction. The movement is very slow, just like a holy river. There is nothing terrifying or dangerous in it. So Hindu God is bound to be a Krishna playing with his flute and dancing on the blue river under the full moon night. No Muslim God can be conceived of as dancing, playing the flute. It cannot be, because the reality, symbols has to correspond to the reality. The image comes from the environment and from the mind that experiences it. Everything subjective is bound to be translated, and whatever name and symbols we give it to are not really unreal. It is real to us. So one must defend one's own symbols. Muslims defend their own symbols. God as angry, cruel, but one cannot impose one symbol on others. One must say, even if all others are against this symbol, it is congenial to me. It comes naturally to me and spontaneously. God comes to me in this way, and I do not know how He comes to you. The problem arises when we impose our symbols on others, and that is the human nature. This is aggression. It creates resentment. We do not accept the other as he is. We want him to change. An awakened one does not impose his ideology on others. He allows the others to grow on their own, at their own pace, in their own way. Each flower blossoms. The process of opening of a flower we know as flowering, we call it blossom. But each flower blossoms according to its own innerness. A rose has its own pattern of blossoming, opening its petals. So is the pattern of marigold. So is the pattern of opening of an orchid flower or chrysanthemum. Man has yet to learn to accept the other as he is. Only then there can be harmony. Only then there can be peace on earth. So there has been so many ways to indicate a particular happening, a particular reality, 1,000 ways. But when I say it is subjective, psychic, I do not mean it is just a name. No, it is not a name. To you, it is a reality. It comes to you in this particular way. It cannot come to you otherwise. If we do not confuse mentality with reality, if we do not confuse materiality with reality, if we do not confuse objectivity with subjectivity, then everything becomes clear. But if you confuse them, then things become difficult to understand. The objectivity and subjectivity are two different things. The materiality and the reality are two different phenomena. So this is all about, is Kundalini a psychic phenomenon. I will take about the other aspects of it. Kundalini, how there are two processes, the processes through which Kundalini can arise or get activated. One is the technique of breathing. Breathing comes through the body. The other is to ask a question, who am I? The technique that Raman used, but it relates to the mind. The question does not arise in the body. Breathing does not happen in the mind, but affects the mind. So these two, the process of how does Kundalini arise in you, I will take in tomorrow's session. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.